We all know that fathers play a vital role in the lives of their children, especially their sons. Some boys grow into strong men. Some boys simply become adult males. Is there a difference? Does a man define what man means? Or what are the roles and responsibilities of the man? We celebrate all fathers who have stood as positive examples for their sons throughout their lives and into manhood. And today we have fathers with us who have walked the walk with their sons to manhood. Grab your pen and paper. There may be a few life lessons here in store.
Here we go. We're gonna go out there to race. It's gonna get wet. All right, here we go. Okay, quick. Oh yeah, yes. So much fun. Mwah. Yeah, we're getting so wet. Oh,
Hello and welcome to the Clarion Call Show. I'm Janice Liggins, your host. We all know there is no special formula in place to guide all fathers in raising their sons. So most men rely on examples they experience throughout their lives, good or bad. What makes a good example? How can a father encourage his son? What messages shape how boys grow into strong men? Joining us today are four fathers who have raised their sons to become men. We welcome Mr. Orlando Brooks, Mr. Ricardo Brooks, Mr. Greg Williams, and Mr. Clint Jones. Welcome to the show, everyone. Welcome. I appreciate you coming and talking about your role and experience as fathers. So let's start off. Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and how many children you have.
Well, I'm Ricardo Brooks, as you indicated earlier, and I have two wonderful children.
Okay.
I have a son and a daughter, and I'm done. And I'm a native Washingtonian.
Okay.
So I'm raised in the Washington, D.C. area. I went to school in Midwest for a short while. Then I came back, and I'm a business owner. I have done everything from IT to management consulting as well as construction.
Okay, very good. And you?
Hi, Janice. I'm Orlando Brooks. I'm a father of two now. I was a single parent of a son for several years. And then I chose a wife, and she had a daughter the exact same age, so we're now a blended family. So I have a son and a daughter.
Okay.
I'm native to the area also. I grew up in IT. I switched over to real estate, so now I do small development projects.
Okay, wonderful.
Hello, my name is Billy Russell. I grew up on a farm in Calvert County in southern Maryland. I was a UPS driver for 30 years, and I had two children, a boy and a girl. Very proud of both of them.
Amen.
Both of them are doing very well.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Clinton Jones, and I am from Texas. I'm from Port Arthur, Texas.
Okay.
I have one son, and I'm a business consultant.
Okay, very good. Well, I have known each of you for a number of years, and I know you're all married, I know your wives, and so I thank them for wanting to let you be on the show with me and talk about this awesome topic. And you're here because I admire you and the role that you have played with your sons. So what was it like for you in the beginning when you first became a dad? What struck you? What was like, uh-oh, what am I, what was it that struck you most?
That's a real easy one for me to answer. Okay. When we had our son was first, he's the oldest, and when we brought him home, I remember being excited about this precious new life. And I remember him being in the crib, and one of the things you do when you stand over a crib and you look at your child, you make all kinds of googly eyes and things like that. And I said, oh, look at him looking at me. And it was like something went off in my spirit.
Wow.
Something said, that's right, he's gonna be watching you for the rest of his life.
Wow.
And I said out loud, wow, I've got to get my act together.
Awesome. Awesome.
I remember that like it was yesterday.
What about you, Orlando?
Well, I probably did it the most difficult way you can do it. I gave life to a child when I was just barely out of being childhood myself. I was a teenager. We got pregnant. My son was born, but it woke me up. Because one, the first thought I had was, what am I going to do? I have no idea how to do this. But thanks to God, I had a single dad father before me who became my own personal Superman because he was everything to me. So he and the child's grandmother on the mother's side got us together and says, here's what we're going to do. We're going to help you guys. You're going to do this, but we're going to guide you a little bit. So we watched them, we listened to them, and I realized I had to make a lot of changes. So I got rid of all my friends at the time, which was very difficult. But I decided if they're going to do this for me, then I'm going to make the commitment for the child.
Wonderful. Wonderful for them to step in like that.
Yes,
Awesome.
yes.
Awesome. Awesome. Billy?
Well, when I realized that I was going to have a son, I was scared. Am I going to do the right thing? How will he turn out? A whole thousands of questions went through my mind. And then as time went on and he began to grow, it dawned on me that, you know what? I think I want my son to be like me. And that's when it really clicked.
What about you?
Well, I had two role models. My mother didn't marry my stepfather until I was about 5, going on 6. So my uncle was like my father before he got married, and afterwards he played some of those roles too. And my stepfather, which I didn't understand until I was grown, he was a role model, but a different kind. So I kind of, I blended those things. So when I was 25 when my son was born, and I had two role models, and I kind of blended them together. Oh, this is what I can do.
Okay. So how old were your sons when you first took them alone, not with the mom, but when you first took them off to the store or somewhere by just the two of you? How old were they?
My son, this is very early on, because I had this philosophy. I wasn't 20 or 16 or something like that. I didn't get married till I was like 32. So I kind of felt like I had a little bit more mature thought process about it. But I had this notion that I was to raise this child and my wife was to assist me in doing that. And it was nothing to take away from her, but it just kind of kept reinforcing in my own heart and mind that I need to take a lead role. And that in order to do that, I needed to think that way, but not push her to the side, not diminish her role at all, but understand that I need to be in the forefront. And like some of the gentlemen have mentioned, I had really two very strong role models for fathers for me. My natural father, as well as my adopted father. And my adopted father is the one who raised me since I was a young child, but he would always tell me about my natural father. And I always thought that was very interesting, because it wasn't animosity, anything like that between the two. And so then I found out as I grew that the two of them were extremely similar. Build, mentality, and that kind of thing. So for me, it was early on that I would take my son, because my father always took me wherever he went, to work, to go down to the store, to go to the gas station. Come on, boy. That was the thing that was done, and he was from the South. He was from Georgia, as a matter of fact. So that's what happened in that case, and so I kind of followed suit in that vein.
Okay. Anybody else? How old was your son the first time you took him on your own, independently? Well,
my son had a really interesting experience. He became ill after his 6-week checkup. Ooh. And he was born in Misawa, Japan. And so our first trip together was a medevac from Japan to the States.
To the States?
To San Antonio, Texas. Wow. And so that was the first one, and we bonded ever since.
So we know all boys get into some kind of mischief. And so just give a quick example of something you recall that just drove you nuts with your son.
I can give you one of those, if it's okay.
Sure.
My son had this uncanny inheritance from me of curiosity.
Okay.
It's really amazing. I would take apart clocks in the house for some strange reason. They just intrigued me. Well, he inherited that, but the technology had advanced by his time. So he was taking apart computers and my treasured stereo AV systems. I would come in the room sometimes and there's a million pieces on the floor. And he's figuring out things. Boy, it really burned me, but I kept thinking, how did his mind figure all of that out? So instead of punishing him, or I guess the punishment was, you have to figure out how to put it all back together without my help. One, I probably couldn't figure it out. Two, to make sure he got the point, I made him go around and put other stuff together that had nothing to do with that, things he was not interested in, so that he would learn, you know, not to do that again.
But that's interesting because that's also training for him.
It was excellent training because today he is a wizard in the recording studio.
Wow.
And he's a computer wizard and he's a musician.
See, so that was really helping him with the natural talents that he already was expressing. That's awesome. What about you, Paul?
My son, I think, was about 3 years old. He put powder in all the shoes. He just took a thing of powder and just went around and put it in all the shoes. I guess he figured, hey, slip-on shoes, now they'll slip easy.
They have a way of doing things that just really get our attention. Okay, so why is you think it's important for the father to set a strong example for the son?
Janice, I think that it's a natural inclination for young boys to want to follow somebody who's like them. I think the same thing is for girls, but since we're focusing and talking about boys and into manhood, so you have to follow, they want to follow something, so you have to set an example, you have to set a standard for them to be able to follow. Otherwise, you wind up with a situation where you have, like a lot of our boys in society today, they don't really have role models to follow, they don't have examples, and they're trying to figure it out. And they will try to figure it out because that's just a part of their nature as well. So they will do something, but it's just so much better to do something with some level of instruction or some level of guidance.
So they'll follow someone good or bad.
Exactly.
And so the option is that the wisdom is try to what is the good role model and follow that. Okay.
Yeah.
What about
it's a funny thing. A child is going to learn whether it's good or bad. So it's better for him to learn good and learn from you than learn bad, because he's going to pick it up one way or the other.
So it's like you said, Ricardo, in the beginning, you had to change. I think each of you said you had to change because you know that son is going to mimic you.
Right.
So you have to give him a good example to mimic, a good role model to mimic. Very good.
That was actually very amazing to me because there was a flood of inadequacies that came into my mind. You know, when Billy said earlier that he didn't know what to do. I mean, I felt all of those same kind of things, like, oh wow, how am I going to do this? Or I just felt like there were so many different areas that need fixing that I have to stop procrastinating about correcting those areas and get it right now, because from this day forward, he is watching me.
Yeah, it'll wake you up. One thing I did learn with my son is no matter what I said, no matter what he listened to, he watched me more. Sometimes I saw him mimicking things that I had.
Yes.
I thought, where did he get that from? And I go, oh, I did that.
They do what you do, not what you say.
And the timing is never right when they mimic you. So you better get it right early.
They mimic good and bad.
Yes.
Is that right? Is that right? Okay, so we're going to take a break. We'll be right back. So, are there words of wisdom that an experienced father can pass to a younger father to raise his son to manhood? There sure are. Stay tuned.
Oh, hey, bud.
Oh.
Where are you headed?
Just gonna hang out.
It's a school night. With Gary and Todd?
Yeah?
Not sure about those two. I've been meaning to ask you. This is tougher than I thought. Is there any drinking going on in this crowd?
No?
I hope not, because alcohol can lead you to say things and do things that you really wish you hadn't. Isn't this what you're supposed to say?
I know.
So if any of your buddies ever pressure you to take a drink, just tell them you promised your dad you wouldn't. I'd do anything to keep you safe.
Okay, I will.
I hope this is working.
I promise. Love you too, Dad.
They really do hear you.
Ryan.
Yeah?
So start the conversation even before they're teenagers.
Good idea.
For tips on what to say, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Welcome back. We're continuing our conversation with fathers on how to raise their sons to become men. Joining us again is Ricardo Brooks, Orlando Brooks, Billy Russell, and Clint Jones. Welcome again, gentlemen. We're going to continue the conversation. What about discipline in raising your son? How old and how severe, or what was your model for discipline?
Discipline started very early because it's a training process. Discipline wasn't a dirty word. It was a way of training the child so that the child could have correct behavior, attitudes, and things like that. So early on, there were little things, like depending upon where the problem came from. If the problem was the mouth, there may be a little pop in the mouth. And I know a lot of people have all the issues with what they say they have issues with, but I don't, and we don't in our house. And so if there was a spanking, the spankings did take place, but they were not spankings done in anger. So I would never spank him if I was angry at him. I would wait a period of time, but the spanking would definitely happen, okay?
It's coming.
And then there was also the after the spanking. There was the embrace. Do you understand? Do you know why you got the spank? You know, that kind of thing. So there would be a process of understanding that I didn't do that because I was mad at you or hated you or anything like that, but I did that because I love you.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Wonderful. Anybody else?
Yeah, with my son, you want to go?
Yeah, no, go ahead.
With my son, we pretty much developed a rapport with each other. And I warn a lot of parents today that you don't want to be their friend. You will be their friend later if you do the other parts early. They will just become your friend. Like today, my son and I, we're inseparable. Even though he's in Pennsylvania, he calls me every day. He's working on a patent now, so he gets a lot of input from me. He asks me for a lot of input. But in the early stages, when he did do things that were unacceptable, there was punishment, but we didn't do the physical punishment as the first choice. When there was the time for physical punishment, which was not very frequent, I would not strike out right then and there. And he would not get in trouble necessarily for what he did. The conversation usually went something like, the way you were thinking bothers me when you did that. So I got to change your thinking on this. Okay. So let's analyze how you were thinking when you were going through this process.
Very good.
If we thought it warranted some kind of physical punishment after that, we would literally make appointments. Like the spanking would happen on a certain date, that's not today, at a certain time.
Poor thing.
And we would make appointments to meet each other.
Oh.
And it probably drove him crazy a little bit thinking about as it approached. But we actually would do it. I found out that once I said I was going to do it, I had to do it, even if he did 100,000 great things up to that point.
You had to follow through.
My word was out there, so I had to follow through with it. So we would do that. But some of the best father-son times were usually immediately after that, because we would actually turn it into an event and go somewhere or do some things outside.
Because they need structure.
Yeah.
They need discipline, they need structure.
So we would give them the firmness, but then we would give them the softness and the love afterwards.
What about money? Do boys, is it okay to just give them money, like an allowance, they just get a certain amount of money each time, or should boys learn to earn, that you have to earn the money? What are your thoughts on that?
I think both, but it depends on the allowance thing. I didn't do allowance per se, like you get X amount of money, because I had heard someplace and I believed this, but I figured I allowed you to live in my house, I allowed you to eat my food. And so there was more exactly. There was more of an instilling of a community involvement. In other words, you have to give something into the community in order to help the community, which was our household, to grow. So doing chores was not something that you got paid for. Yeah. Making up your bed certainly was not something that you got paid for. That was to your benefit, not to mine. Okay, but it taught you something. I saw something years ago that said that if you get up and make up your bed first thing in the morning, at least you've accomplished one thing. And so we tried to do those kinds of things. What was the second part of what you said, Janice?
Do you give them money or do they have to earn it?
Oh, the earning part. The earning part was a big part of the education. It was to teach them that you earn things for purposes. So if you really wanted something, then the question I always asked was, okay, so how are you going to pay for it? And then, of course, you guide them along that process, but it was always beginning with, okay, sounds like a great idea. So how are you going to pay for it?
What about you, Billy? About money?
Money, we wouldn't give him money. It was like a reward, we might say. If you do something great, then we'll pay you for doing it. He had chores like cleaning his room. You would get paid for it, for taking care of your room, picking up after yourself. Well, we was teaching him responsibility as well, and it had to be known that nothing in life is given to you. Right. You have to earn it.
Yes. Clint?
Well, we had a sort of an allowance system because he had things to do, and those things he did. So we didn't tie the money to the chores. We tied the money to the fact that he needed to do certain things, and this was what he was going to use to do those things. And one of the things that we always stressed was, if you're honest and always tell the truth, there's no penalty, extra penalty that comes with that. And so that worked out really well for us.
So how old are your sons now? How old is your?
My son is 20 now, and he'll be 21 in July.
Okay. And
my young man is 42.
Wow, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
My son is 48.
Is he? I just saw him the other day. He didn't look like I'm sorry. Claire?
It's 43.
Oh, wonderful. So what do you think that they have learned most from you? What's the one thing they got that you're really glad that they got?
I think in my son's case, how to persevere. Life is not easy. It's not promised to be easy. So I think that he learned to persevere and hopefully to control his emotions, not to dismiss them, not to say that they don't exist, but at least how to regulate them and not let them regulate you.
Wonderful.
And then that gives you the ability to make sound decisions in certain situations where others are not necessarily doing the same thing, and they need somebody to help navigate through those waters.
Self-control. Very good. Orlando?
With my son, I think the biggest emphasis is he learned a father and a man are always there. He and I went through a lot of things. Keep in mind, I had him so young that I was kind of growing up with him for a while. But he did learn one particular thing. He could always find me, I could always find him, and I was at everything he did.
Wonderful.
Even if it caused a lot of people uncomfort, I was always there. There was a mixed family, so his mother married someone else, but I just decided I am the father. And you can back me up. I appreciate your support. He's in your household sometimes, I understand that. But I am the dad, so I will be there for everything. So a lot of times he had 3 parents at most events, because if nobody else showed up, I was going to be there. And today I can proudly say he would give everything for his children.
Wonderful, wonderful. Billy?
Yeah, I'm proud of the way my son is raising his family. He's always there for them, whatever they need. He's there. They can call on him at any time. I am very, very proud of that. And I think he's growing up. I mean, the things that he's doing for them, great. And I think his kids are going to do the same thing.
I remember you saying one time how he's just like you.
He's just like me. That's right. That's right.
That's awesome. It's awesome that you can say that and feel good about it.
Yes. With pride I feel that. Yeah.
Yes. Clint?
Well, I can say about the same thing. I think we instilled into him that people are important, and the way you treat people is the way you want to be treated. And you always give them the benefit of the doubt. And so he has good rapport with his clients. Matter of fact, he's the kind of person who walks in the room and everybody knows his name.
He's a hairstylist, right?
Yeah, he's a hairstylist.
So what advice would you give to a young father who has a young son? What advice would you give him now? You know, looking back.
I think hearing the other fathers, they basically have said it, is to be present. That's the biggest advice that I think I can give. Be present. Be there. And being there is different for everybody, so it's not necessarily a certain amount of time, but it's the quality of time. Some people, for example, may work night jobs and are not able to be there to do homework, but the times that they are able to be there, they need to make sure that it counts. Or work it in such a way so they can be there for significant events. But that was the biggest thing, to just be present.
Wonderful.
Okay?
Yeah, I agree 100%. You have to be present. You have to be accountable, but you don't have to be perfect.
Okay, very good.
I think you should let your son see your mistakes. As long as your mistakes are made honestly and with the right condition of heart. Your son should see your struggles. Therefore, he will be able to deal with his struggles because there will be many.
Examples again.
You can prepare him to deal with things, but you can't prepare him for everything. So show him how you deal with things, and he'll figure the rest out.
Very good, very good. Billy?
Time. You have to spend time with them. If you don't spend time with them, they'll spend time with someone else. And you have to do things with them. I mean, it may be soccer, and you don't want to be soccer, but if that's what he wants to do, then you be there for him.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I believe time is the most important thing because you get to see, and he gets to see, a lot of different occurrences, a lot of different circumstances. And so basically, your child's going to model you, whether you like it or not.
Yes, yes. So for the son, for the young boy whose father is not in his life, just real quick, what do you say to him?
Learn how to be a son. That's an important thing to do. In other words, learn to be under authority, learn to take instructions, because one day if you're fortunate enough to get married and have a son of your own, you're going to really value the fact that you learn how to be a son because you want to teach him how to be a son. Okay, and being a father-son thing is like an apprenticeship. It's a training that goes on for a long time.
Go ahead. Go.
There's a saying I used to say to my son a lot, and every now and then we still say it. I said, become someone's student. You don't know enough not to be a student. So if your father, so the fathers that are out there or the sons that are out there that don't have a father in their lives, find someone, even if it's from afar or in a distant observation, find someone who appears to be doing what you admire. Then get to know that person. Talk to your mom or whoever's raising you saying, can you make an entree to this person for me? But find someone that you can become a student of.
Very good, very good, very good.
Yeah. My thing, find a big brother.
Okay.
Someone that you can talk to. All the times a young man cannot talk to a woman. He needs to talk to another man.
Okay, very good. We're going to have to bring it to a close, everyone. Thank you for coming. Happy Father's Day coming up to you. I appreciate you all for coming and sharing your words of wisdom with us. So, boys need real men in their lives who can shape them into manhood. Real men, not adult males. If you are a young father, take counsel from our guest today. Seek out men who can guide you in fathering your son. And if you are a teen and your father is not with you, you need to also find a positive example who can guide you into growing into manhood. They don't have to be in your family. They just need to have integrity and be willing to help. If you don't have a good example, give us a call and we may be able to help you find one. Honoring all fathers today, we say Happy Father's Day. We applaud you and thank you for the love, care, and guidance you give every day. That's it for now, and we hope you enjoyed the show. Join us next time, won't you, for the Clarion Call. Until then, I'm Janice Liggins. Blessings to you.